for God. Father, God of heaven, we come before you now and praising you and giving you glory, and we thank you for the lessons we've been hearing and listening to, and we thank you for that. Bless our time here. Bless Cliff as he gives us the lesson on spreading the fire. We thank you for him. In Jesus' name, amen.
A bit of housekeeping. After tonight's session, teens, if you'll just go straight back to the teen room, and we'll have some ice cream back there and some activities for you. And then once everything clears out, we'll move to the fellowship hall. And parents, will wrap up everything between 9:30 and 10. And so just know that if you get here at 9:30 and everything's not wrapped up, that's maybe by design. And so just know that it may take a few minutes longer. I know what Brett is going to do tonight for the teens, and it's good. It's good stuff, and I want to make sure our teens get that. I don't know about you, but this weekend has been so good, and our speakers have been phenomenal. And it is obvious that they have put in a lot of time and effort into bringing the messages that they have brought to us this weekend. And I have been challenged by each one of them. And I don't know why I'm introducing Cliff. You know him. You've already heard him. You know that he loves jiu-jitsu. You know that he loves Red Bull. And I think a symptom of his Red Bull addiction is how fast he talks. And if you listen closely, you get about 3 sermons in one. And you get your money's worth when that happens. And it was funny, I was talking to somebody today, and I won't tell you who said it, but they said, I thought Richard talked fast. Cliff talks really fast. And I thought, man, my father-in-law's onto something. And so, what? Well, I didn't say any names. Man. Cliff, come and preach to us.
Know where this Red Bull rumor got started. I don't really like Red Bull. I like Diet Pepsi. Actually, I'm cheap. I like Diet Shasta. You can get it at Winco for 98 cents sometimes on sale. But no, I'm not a Red Bull guy. I mean, ever so often I'll have an energy drink. I like the one that tastes like white gummy bears. It's made by like Rain, or the one that's made by, I think, Bang. They all end in ang, but good stuff right there. Really want to thank you all for letting me be with you this week. And this is my first time to Idaho, first time being with this congregation. I've been thoroughly impressed. Impressed with the love and the camaraderie and just the friendliness of the congregation here. I go to different lectureships and things, and sometimes they feel like you're walking into some kind of political thing where it's like who's who in the church and who's going to talk. I hate all that kind of stuff, and I didn't get any of that vibe here, so I like that. I like the fact that you welcomed me here. It just felt like I'm one of the group. I like that you're able to welcome my sister who moved here to Idaho, and welcome her into the congregation here too. I appreciate that. The meal tonight we had, and there was served by some of the kids. That was awesome. I mean, all of it's just been great. And the hotel and the rental car, all that kind of stuff is good. And by the way, I mentioned this. He asked, what should he mention in the introduction? Literally, I was been impressed with the hotel. Here's why. I eat a lot of candy, not Red Bull, but candy. The vending machine at the La Quinta Inn, okay? Normally a hotel vending machine is pretty expensive, right? I got a bag of peanut M&Ms and a bottle, not a can, a bottle of Diet Pepsi were a total cost of $2.75. That's impressive. That's like grocery store prices. I'm going to go back there tonight. If anybody's looking for something to do afterwards, meet me in the lobby at La Quinta. I might share my M&Ms with you. This is going to be my last time being with you. I'm leaving out really early tomorrow morning, so I do thank you. I get to get back and see my family, and I do miss them and get in time for even church activities on Sunday there in Visalia. Well, the topic assigned to me is spreading the flame, and this one, not necessarily the evangel part, but spreading the flame, I'm familiar with this, okay? I have 3 boys, and we like to light things on fire. So, I mean, I'm used to spreading flames. Our favorite thing is you grab a thing of brake cleaner or carburetor cleaner and see what kind of designs you can make on the sidewalk, right? These guys are nodding their heads. They've done it, okay? Yeah, well, it happens. We like to, in the backyard, we got really bad, like black widow spiders in our part of California, and we go spider hunting at night. I'll get a kid. Gwen's been helping my 9-year-old daughter. She gets a spotlight, and we'll shine around until we find a black widow, and you hit it with the carburetor cleaner lighter. So I'm used to spreading flames. But this idea of spreading the flame of evangelism, I'm going to open up with this, but don't call me a heretic or something. I don't like evangelism, and I don't think we do it well. And in fact, I don't even like the idea of evangelism. And here's what I mean by that. Usually, the way we think of evangelism is some kind of canned script or a program or some way to kind of convince somebody to believe what you believe in some way. And I've been through lots of, I sat in a class at preaching school on personal evangelism. It was all about that. I've been through Fishers of Men. I went through the We Care thing, and I've been familiar with other different methods. In fact, at one time, I wrote my own evangelistic method. I thought it was going to be better than all the other ones. And Wayne Berger still gives it out to people at Bear Valley, and I don't even like that method that I wrote, okay? And I'll have students from there go, oh, I saw your method. I'm like, I hate that method, okay? But let's talk about this idea of spreading the flame of evangelism. I'll tell you what I mean by this. There's a term that I've been using for what I believe in when it comes to sharing the gospel. So when you hear the word evangelism, think sharing the gospel. Don't think those people that knock on your door that you're annoyed with, okay? So my idea and the way I like to share the gospel is something that I've called, well, back up for a second. Well, you'll talk about it because the PowerPoint said I had to. Unintentional evangelism. That's what I call what I like to do. Now, on the screen right there, anybody know what that is? No, it's not. It's not a flamethrower. In fact, Elon Musk made that, okay? He has a company called the Boring Company where he made tunnels underneath Las Vegas for Teslas and stuff. And he also made this. And it's very clear. You can buy it and have it delivered to you. It's not a flamethrower. That's literally what it's called. It's not a flamethrower. All it is a fancy-looking propane torch that looks like a Star Wars gun. But it's not a flamethrower. So anything that it happens to catch on fire is not the intended use of that. If it happens to throw flame out there and that flame burns things down, it's not a flamethrower. You're just not using it as intended, right? Which I totally want one. It's really awesome. But that's my idea of evangelism. My idea of evangelism is not I try to hit people with the flames, but I'm playing around doing my life, and I'm just going to start burning things down as I go. What I mean by that is this. I believe in evangelism that's unintentional evangelism done intentionally. Okay? You're like, what in the world are you talking about? Let me prove it to you with the Bible, and then you'll see if you agree with me. Turn your Bibles to John chapter 4, and we're going to look at the account of the woman at the well here. And I'm going to show you where I got this idea from and what I mean by this. And then you can fill in the gaps if you think my idea is crazy, and so on. By the way, the picture on there, I think it's from the movie The Chosen. I saw on your billboard out front, you guys are going through The Chosen right now as a church. It's totally awesome. And the scene with the woman at the well done. I was totally impressed with that. But John chapter 4, starting there in verse 7, just as in the middle of Jesus' ministry. If you're new to the Bible, or maybe you're new here, you're invited. Our Bibles are divided into an Old and a New Testament. The Old Testament deals with the time leading up to Jesus. The New Testament is the time during Jesus and how his message spread afterwards. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are all biographies of Jesus. And this book of John that we're looking at here is one of those biographies. And we're at the time before Jesus died. It's when he's on the earth going through his normal earthly ministry. Verse 7. It said, there came a woman of Samaria to draw water, and Jesus said to her, give me a drink. If you back up, remember he's been on a journey. He's wearied from his journey. He stops at that well, and he's there relaxing, taking a break. And a woman comes up to get water, and Jesus asks her for a drink of water. Okay? Normal kind of situation. And it says his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. Now the Samaritan woman said to him, how is it that you being a Jew ask me for a drink since I am a Samaritan woman? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. If you know, historically the Jews looked upon the Samaritans with a lot of racial prejudice. And in fact, there's a lot of even underlined stuff with this too. Jesus is here, he's talking to not only a Samaritan, he's talking to a woman, which a Jewish man normally probably wouldn't do like that. And this is also a woman that's probably poor because she's getting her own water. And we find out later she's also in an immoral situation, all that. So here you have Jesus talking to a poor person, a woman, a Samaritan, someone that usually people would look at as an outcast. He talks to her. And she's surprised by this, obviously. She goes, you Jews don't normally talk to people like us. Jesus answered and said to her, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that says to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. Now, what a way to change the subject, Jesus. So she goes, well, what are you doing? Why are you asking me this? This is odd. And Jesus goes, well, actually, if you knew about God and the gift of God and you knew who you were talking to, you would have asked for living water. Now, you're in a conversation with somebody you don't know and they bring up something like that, that's going to catch your attention a little bit. You're going to maybe go, what's going on here? So she bites, she takes the bait a little bit. She goes, sir, you have nothing to draw with and the well is deep. Where do you get this living water, crazy guy? That kind of thing. How are you going to get it? You don't have a bucket. Okay? And she goes, and you're not greater than our father Jacob, are you, who gave us the well and drank of it, he and his sons and his cattle? And then Jesus answered and said to her, everyone who drinks of this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him shall never thirst, but the water that I will give him will become in him a well of water springing up into eternal life. And then you go on, the woman ends up asking, well, give me this water so I never have to go to the well again. And she's confused a little bit by it. And he explains to her a little bit more. And then he starts asking her about her marriage situation because she's in a bad situation where it's immoral. And she changes the subject to worship. And then they talk about worship. And then ultimately, at the end of this entire section, she leaves the situation there and she goes back to the city where she is from, and then she leaves her water pot behind. Verse 29, she says, come and see a man who told me all the things that I have done. This is not the Christ, is he? Because back in verse 26, he declared that he was. And verse 39, it says, from that city, many of the Samaritans believed in him because of the word of the woman who testified, he told me all the things that I have done. Now, let's talk about this interaction with this woman here and why this is how I started modeling my method of evangelism. I made this on my new PowerPoint program, by the way. It looks like a business presentation, doesn't it? But feels so fancy. But here Jesus, when he talks to this Samaritan woman, first and foremost, this wasn't an evangelistic campaign. This wasn't some door-knocking thing. There wasn't an evangelism day for the church. It was normal, everyday life. It was just what you do. You stop at a place, you go to the well, you get a drink of water. It could be any kind of scene that we could be in. You're going to the grocery store, you're going to the gas station, you're at school, you're at work, you're hanging out with your friends, you're going for a walk, you're at the gym, whatever. It's just normal, everyday life. And initially, it was a casual conversation that he engaged in with her. He says, hey, can I get a drink? And, she goes, what are you talking to me for? This is kind of odd, right? Initially, it's a casual, normal conversation like we have 1,000 times during the week. What are you doing today? How's your day? Oh, the day's good. And then we just move on, right? That kind of thing. Normal, everyday, casual conversation. But that casual conversation became an opportunity for something else. And then Jesus took this unintentional interaction and was very intentional about what he did and directed the situation toward a spiritual conversation, hence the term unintentional evangelism, done intentionally. That's where I get this idea. It's unintentional interactions with people, and you use those interactions intentionally to lead people to Jesus. Not in some weird canned speech, not with a little questionnaire where you ask them a question. If they say yes, you move to the next one, and no to the other one. Or you ask them some really weird question right off the bat. You knock on the door and go, by the way, you're going to heaven or hell. That doesn't work. Okay? It's not a good way to do it. And there's methods like that. But I like this one. Jesus engages in this situation and ends up, they convert the entire village, it seems like. So it worked out pretty well. So here's the 2 steps we're going to look at in our lesson tonight to help us spread the flame of evangelism. Number 1, we need to work to make everyday activities evangelistic. So the activities you already are involved in. You have that opportunity. People are like, we need to have a workshop on how we can have more evangelistic opportunities. Everybody has evangelistic opportunities. If you need a workshop to tell you how to live a normal life, there's a problem. We are already engaged in those opportunities. We just have to work to take those opportunities and make them more evangelistic. And then number 2, involve yourself in activities that will spawn evangelistic opportunities if you're narrowed in maybe one area of focus. And I did this one time, this idea especially thinking of preachers in mind. Because, if I go to the Bear Valley School of Preaching or Sunset or something, and they ask me to speak in chapel and talk about evangelism with the preachers there, I'm going to really emphasize you got to get out of your office and get out of the church building too, so that you can be in situations where you are evangelistic. So let's talk about how we can do that. Now, I'm trying not to talk about jiu-jitsu stuff tonight, okay? But I will mention like going to the gym or training. When I say that, don't just tune me out like he's talking about the jiu-jitsu stuff again. Fill in your own thing, okay? I also get paid to coach jiu-jitsu, so fill it in with when I'm at the job, okay? I also exercise there, so when I'm at the gym. Or it's also where I hang out with my friends, so you can fill in when I'm at the club, and I learn there, so it's when I'm at school. So fill in whatever your thing is right there. So when I say gym, you might say work, you might say office, you might say the neighborhood, you might say the park, you might say whatever. Fill in your own little space there. So let's talk about how we can do that. How can we turn everyday activities into opportunities for evangelism? Now, it's weird that we have to talk about this. It should just be something we do, but sometimes we need some help along the way. I know I do too. So what can we do in the middle of our normal everyday lives and turn them into evangelistic opportunities? First off, work to create a persona. Now, here's what I mean by this, not a fake one. And here's what the definition of this term is. I thought that was a funny gif, by the way. But a persona is this: the aspect of someone's character that is presented to or perceived by others. So when people get to know, apparently you all think I drink Red Bull, okay? That rumor, that's the persona apparently I present, even though I had a Red Bull like 3 weeks ago, and I don't even like the taste of Red Bull. I like white gummy bear flavor, okay? But it's the part of your character that is perceived by or presented to you toward others. You have to be intentional with this, because I believe that a lot of Christians intentionally try to lose the Christian persona when they're at work, when they're at the job, when they're at the gym, when they're not at church. So maybe we have to do the opposite and work to cultivate and create that persona a little bit better. And here's what I mean by that. We need to work to make it obvious that we're Christians. Okay? That's evangelism, right? Work to make it very, very obvious that you're a Christian. So maybe you started a new job, maybe you started a new school, moved into a new neighborhood, just met some new people. Early on in that relationship, make sure that they know you're a Christian. Now, don't be weird about it, okay? Like, hi, I'm so-and-so. Did you know I love the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Just chill a little bit. But you can still make it obvious other ways. Hey, how's it going? How's your weekend going? It's been great. I attended this lectureship thing. It's like a seminar workshop we did at our church. We heard a bunch of different lessons on living the Christian life, especially some really practical stuff from this short guy with a bald head on parenting. Maybe they have kids who want to talk about that. You can talk about that kind of stuff. Just mention it. Because you know what? Every day when you go to work or every Monday you show up at work, they ask you, how was your weekend? And you usually say, fine. There's an opportunity to drop the church mention, okay? I mean, right there. Hopefully you were there on Sunday, so Monday you have something to talk about. So create this persona by letting it be known that you go to church a lot. Maybe you have an in-home Bible study. Mention it. Be like, man, I'm looking forward to this evening. I'm a little stressed out. I got to mop and clean because we're having the church group over for a Bible study at my house. Oh, you mentioned to your friend you have a Bible study. Right? I mean, we do that with everything else. We'll drop that we played football back in the 80s. We'll mention our favorite rock band. I mean, all sorts of stuff like that. Just mention church stuff. Mention that you went to Bible camp. Mention the youth devo that you attended. Whatever it is, just mention church stuff. And if you do that a lot, it'll be kept at the forefront of everybody's mind. They'll start to associate you with Jesus. And if you're a nice person and are kind to them and loving, it'll all go along with all this. But don't be afraid to just let it be known that you are a Christian. You want to, as we do this, work toward becoming the Christian of whatever situation you are in. But let's be careful with this also too. Be real with it, because people can spot a fake. That's a fake Rolex up there, not a real one. And I'm not good at spotting that, but there's some really trained people that can. There's been people out there that have been harmed by churches, burned by Christians, offended and put off by people claiming a faith in Jesus, and we got to be careful that we don't make the brand look bad. So if you're going to be presenting yourself as a Christian, be a nice person. So be real with it. Totally off topic, but it's just how my mind works. There's an old guy at church that has a Rolex he wears every Sunday, and it drives me insane. Well, I'll tell you why in a second. It has gold nuggets all over it. And I've been trying to get him to pass it to me when he dies for years. I'm like, hey, who's going to get that when he passes away? Well, my son's going to get it. I'm like, oh, man. But he's also, now that he's old and doesn't really care about stuff, he's a woodworker. He has scratched the fire out of it. You can't even see the numbers. And I Googled it. That thing's worth like $40,000, okay? And I'm like, it's on your wrist. You could donate it, and we could fund a church plant in Idaho, right? Or something like that. So, we can get together and make this happen. But be real. because people can spot a fake. That's real gold on his wrist, okay? He used to own a pawn shop. I don't think he was actually that wealthy. Somehow he got lucky. But here's why we need to work on our persona. The reason why you want to work on your persona is you want to become the go-to religious person in every situation. Because here's what's going to happen. You're with your group of coworkers, and all of a sudden somebody has some kind of a spiritual need. They're going through a rough spot. They need some guidance. They need some prayer. They have a question about the Bible. Something came up in conversation and they want a Bible-related answer, some kind of religious knowledge of some way. You want them to go to you for that. You want to be the go-to religious person so that when people have a spiritual need, you're the one they talk to. It makes it easier for evangelism if you are the Christian of the group, if it's just known. I mean, if any of you decided you wanted to start training jiu-jitsu, you would go, well, talk to Cliff. He'll probably tell you how to start. Right? Because that's what I've talked about. If you wanted to know about Tennessee football, you would talk to Corey. Well, you want to be the person that when people have church, Bible, Christian, prayer, any kind of thing like that and needs, they go to you, not to the internet, not to some crazy uncle. They want to go to you. And if you have a relationship with them and they trust you because you're a nice person and they just know you're a Christian, they will go to you and they will expect you to want to tell them about Jesus. You would expect me to want to tell you about the things I like. You ask me about my kids, I'm going to tell you about my kids. If you ask me about Jesus, you should expect me to want to tell you about Jesus. And this makes it really easy to teach people about Christ. But what happens is we don't let people know we're Christians. We live a very different life when we're out there in our normal everyday activities than we do at church, and then evangelism gets awkward. It's only awkward because we've made it awkward. If we're just living out Christianity and talking about Jesus all the time in the church, it'll just happen. I don't plan on telling you about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It just happens, okay? And that should be the same way when it comes to Jesus. But people will expect it from you if you are the real deal and they know that you are a Christian. You know, if you see a Girl Scout walking around your neighborhood, you're going to expect her to try to sell you cookies, okay? People should expect the Christian to invite them to church at least, right? I mean, that's what you expect. But if you've never lived out that Christian life, never represented yourself well, if you out of the blue ask somebody to do a Bible study, they're going to be like, what? You study the Bible? That's weird. It'll be out of place. One time when I was about 12 years old, my sister, she was a Girl Scout, totally random. My dad was also a Girl Scout. It's not just because I'm from California. I'll explain this to you. My dad actually worked in the public relations and marketing department for the Girl Scouts, but at career day at school, when people ask you what your dad does, yeah, that's why I took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You get beat up when you tell people your dad's a Girl Scout, okay? But one time my sister had all these cookies she was trying to sell, and me and my buddy decided we're going to help her sell them. So we're going to doors with this wagon of Girl Scout cookies, knocking on a door. Would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? You see a bunch of greasy 7th graders, you know. They're like, what? Would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? What's happening? Girl Scout cookies, would you like to buy some? Where's the Girl Scout? Did you murder her, kidnap her, or what happened? Did you steal her cookies, right? You don't expect a greasy 12-year-old boy to try to sell you Girl Scout cookies. You expect the nice little Daisy, Brownie, whatever cadet level she is. See, my dad was a Girl Scout. I know the names. See? Yeah. I also know the promise. I'll tell you that one afterwards. But you expect the people who are Christians to talk about Jesus. So how do we do that? Well, first and foremost, in those normal, everyday situations that you're in, and where you're trying to practice unintentional evangelism, be intentional about actually developing relationships with people. Don't compartmentalize your life. Don't check out, say, well, that's the work group, that's the sport group, that's my school friends, this is church people, they're my real people I'm close to. No, we have to go outside of our bubble, and we have to work to develop relationships with the people that we come across. That's why kind of cold calling evangelism isn't as effective as relational evangelism. Oh, sometimes it works. Sometimes you get lucky, okay? You hand someone a tract and they get baptized. It can happen, okay? But what's more effective is developing a relationship with you where people trust you, they know you love them, and they love you in return. And if you want to share them what you're passionate about Jesus, they'll be willing to listen. So work to develop relationships with people. And I'll tell you, this might take a very long time. And this might be decades of work, but we're trying to save souls, and we're going to work at that. Recently, I had the opportunity to influence somebody I never thought I would influence. They're at the gym. There's this couple, and they're older than me, and they've been training for a long time. I've known them for 12 years. Our viewpoint, our worldview on things, completely opposite. They're your stereotypical kind of California educators, okay, their viewpoint on things. Very, very far left of what you kind of think of your preacher would probably have viewpoints on stuff. Not believers in the Bible at all, not pro any Christian agenda, but they are nice people, and they're my friends. And I've gotten to know them over the years. I've trained with them for years and taught their kids. And there was a situation that arose back, I think it was at the end of 2020. I got a call from the husband, and he goes, "Hey, Cliff, this is so-and-so. I know with COVID I haven't seen you in a while. I just want to reach out to you because we're in a situation and we think that maybe you can help us." I'm like, all right, Situation was, his father-in-law had just passed away. They were not religious at all, okay? I mean, not even a hint of anything, never stepped in a church or something. But the father-in-law, way back when, he grew up in Peru or something like that, maybe Bolivia. He had, way back when, some Catholic upbringing. And they thought he would want something religious. Like, well, who do we talk to? We don't know any religious people. We don't go to church. Well, Cliff's a Christian. Let's call Cliff. So they hit me up, and on the phone, he's asking me, he goes, "Hey, I don't even know what I'm supposed to ask, what you call what you do. Is it called awake?" I said, "Well, in our group, we don't really call it that, but I could put together a little memorial or say a few words if you like." And he goes, yeah, that'd be great. Situation got kind of awkward. Evangelism makes it awkward too. They wanted me to go to the funeral home because the request was, as the body is getting cremated, they wanted a service. Okay, it was like Darth Vader funeral kind of stuff. And all jokes aside, but it was creepy because they didn't. There's parts of funeral homes that are nice that the public sees. I went to the part where the public doesn't see, and I go back there with just these 3 people. Okay, and I said a few things. So we were given like a 4-minute window to do this, right? And I said a couple things, and of course, they're not religious, and I'm not forcing things on them because I know it's not going to go over well. And the cremation things happen, and I noticed the family sitting there, standing there, just kind of like distraught. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I walked up, put my arms around them, and prayed with them. Afterwards, they hugged me, thanked me, reached out to me, sent me cards. They're not Christians yet. But that opportunity to pray with an atheist couple at a time when they had a hurt, and they were looking for something, they were able to turn to me because I'm their friend that's a Christian. But that wouldn't have happened if they just met me once. Because of that relationship took years to form, talk to people, spend time with people, learn about them, become their friend, learn about their family, learn about their work, learn about their religious background, add them online and be their friend so they can see, I tagged myself. Today I was at the Meridian Church of Christ, or Linder Road Church of Christ in Meridian, Idaho. They'll see that kind of stuff. Develop that relationship so that they will be able to reach out to you when they have a difficult time. A year ago, I was leaving the gym, and this guy tugged on my sleeve real quick. I coach his kid, and he goes, "Hey, Cliff, I want to talk to you about getting baptized." I've never talked to this guy about being baptized. After that, you know what we did? We talked about being baptized, and I got the baptizer, right? I mean, those opportunities just happen when they trust you and they know you love them, when they see what you're talking about online, when they see how you talk in conversation, the opportunities will come up. Another opportunity came up to me. A friend of mine, his name's Armando, years ago, Armando was just the guy that I trained with. And Armando could be your coworker, he could be your classmate. So I said, fill in your own sphere of influence there. Armando was a guy, one of my teammates. And Armando knew I was a preacher, and I knew that he used to be a gangbanger. I mean, rough stuff. You could look up his name and see news articles about the arrest, okay? And like serious stuff. But he cleaned up his act and is doing good. And I get a call from him one day. I don't know how he even got my number. He goes, "Hey, Cliff, this is Armando from the gym. My family needs someone to talk to. My niece is 3 years old. She's in the hospital right now. They're saying that she's going to pass away. Can you pray with the family? I want to put you on speakerphone." That was it, okay? So now I'm on speakerphone with this family that I don't even know that well. I know Armando, and I knew they had needs, so I prayed with them, okay? And I did my best. I get a call from Armando the next day. He is just distraught. His niece passed away, okay? Totally crazy thing to happen too. And I don't have answers for everything that happens in life. as she's dying, she becomes alert for a second and tells her mom, "Mom, angels are tickling me," and then passes away. I don't know the answer to that one. But that touched Armando, I guarantee it, okay? So he calls me up. He's distressed. Tell me about this. I'm like, "Man, I'd love to help with you. I'll pray with you. I want to talk to you more. Let's get you into a Bible study," and I'm doing this. A week later, I am at a funeral for a totally unrelated person, and I get a text from Armando saying, "Cliff, I've been reading my Bible. I need to get baptized." He's a Christian now. All because of that relationship. Because he knew me, trusted me, and I'm not anybody special, okay? I got all sorts of issues. But I'm the Christian guy that he knew. And the opportunity came up. Offer your services to people. Be there when you're having difficulties at your work, at your job, at your school, all that kind of stuff. Be that person. But also with that, we have to learn to get outside of our comfort zone. Because like I said, I'm actually introverted. The thought of sitting down with somebody and having a one-on-one Bible study scares me to death. Every time like a preacher goes, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. Would you like to go out to eat?" I have to call my friends and ask them, "What am I supposed to talk about?" It makes me so nervous. This, I'll yell at you guys all day long. That's fine. But like, you want to hang out after this? That's weird to me. I get uncomfortable with that kind of stuff. But I know I'm a Christian, okay? I have to step out of my comfort zone, and outside of my comfort zone is that opportunity zone. You have to get around people that maybe you wouldn't normally hang out with too. I wouldn't normally hang out with that couple I mentioned that are atheist and pro-left ideals and all that. They're not my normal type of people, but you know what? I had to get out of my comfort zone. Opportunity happened. I don't normally hang around ex-Bulldog gang members, okay? That's not what I normally hang around. I mean, I'm kind of boring. I have 6 kids. I'm a preacher guy, and, you know, I take naps for fun when I'm not choking people. So you have to get outside of that zone a little bit. And Jesus did that. He set the example for us. In Luke chapter 50, verse 1 and 2, it says, "Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to him, both to listen to him. Both the Pharisees and the scribes began to grumble, saying, 'This man receives sinners and eats with them.' But notice this. They were coming to him." Something about him, right? They felt comfortable enough to go be around Jesus. The guy that probably was telling him, "I know, repent or else you'll perish." You know that guy. They still felt comfortable being around him. We need to be the type of people with those relationships that we develop with our friends and our neighbors and our coworkers and our classmates and our teammates. We need to be a type of people that even though they know that our lifestyle is different than theirs, they're comfortable being around us. Not just us being comfortable being around them, but they're comfortable being around us because we're kind, loving, welcoming, you know, all that kind of stuff. We got to get outside of that comfort zone. That means then that we got to be an unexpected friend to everyone, okay? That means that the people that live lifestyles totally different than ours need to be our friends. The people that we're inviting over to our homes. The people that are our friends online. Those people, okay? Not just people that look like the people we go to church with. And that's hard to do. But we have to be that unexpected friend to everyone. Because you know what? Someone who is transgender, someone who is a homosexual, they're going to expect you to be judging of them because they've probably dealt with that before. But if all of a sudden you're kind and loving toward them, that's going to throw a little curveball. That's unexpected. You know, because some of the people I coach and train with don't have the same sexual ethic I do. Some of the people I coach and train with don't have the same beliefs on abortion I do and are advocating for things that I disagree with, but I should still be their friend. And we have a hard time with this as Christians because instead of trying to be friends of everyone, you know, like Zacchaeus was mentioned earlier this weekend, instead of trying to be friends with people like Zacchaeus, we have a tendency to be friends only with people just like us. And you know what we do with the people that aren't like us? We start fights with them. Now, not MMA fights, boxing fights, or kickboxing like this right here, but we do have a tendency to start fights with people. And what does that do? That eliminates the possibility to develop a relationship. That eliminates the possibility to be someone's friend. No one's going to go over to your house and have dinner with you in a Bible study if you're the person that mocked them or ridiculed them. They're not going to want to be your friend because we pick fights when we don't have to, and that hurts our evangelism. All right, this is the part of the lesson where I'm going to really make us all uncomfortable and step on your toes a bit. I've seen this happen so much on social media, and where so many opportunities to reach people are ruined by Christians starting fights when they don't have to. And it usually happens with something simple and maybe even innocent. You just wanted to post your opinion about some hot-button social issue of the day. You wanted to post an opinion about Colin Kaepernick kneeling. Did you have to? Was there any benefit to evangelism in offering an opinion publicly on that situation? Probably not. But I just don't like this, or I don't like this, or it was good, or that. Who cares? But that's my right. I have a right to speak up for the things I believe in. Yeah, you have a right to do a lot of things. All things are lawful, but not all things do what? Edify, Bible says, right? We didn't have to talk about that. Political viewpoints on either side. If you're posting cartoons making fun of the current president or the past president, you're going to immediately ostracize 50% of the people that you want to save with the gospel of Jesus Christ. You don't have to talk about that. If all people know about you is who you voted for, and they don't know that you're even a Christian, or they do know a Christian, but they know all you care about is who you voted for, that will just stop any opportunity for evangelism. Best thing you can do is not post anything, okay? Just be quiet about all that stuff. You don't need to talk about it. It's not helping. And yet we cause these arguments we don't need to have. I disconnected myself from Facebook a while back because I got so annoyed with all sorts of drama on there. I'm going to come back to some of it here. I found I liked Instagram better because I had a lot more non-Christian friends on there. And the non-Christian friends were behaving themselves better. And by the way, you're like, well, I'm not offending anybody. I don't have any non-Christian friends. Well, that's a whole nother problem. I mean, come on. I mean, really, if the only people you're friends with online are Christians, you need to get out of your bubble bad. And if all you assume is that your preacher's only friends with Christians, that's a problem too, right? I mean, we need to be out there talking to all sorts of people, but we offer little things, even when things we've never thought about. We're like, well, no, me wearing a t-shirt that says that's not offensive. In my state, 50% of the people don't want to hear what you have to say if you're wearing a shirt promoting guns, okay? Yeah, but Second Amendment, who cares? You're a Christian too. And I like going shooting. I mean, but I showed a picture of a flamethrower, okay? But I don't need to, I'm a Christian before I'm a patriot. I'm a Christian before I'm a Second Amendment supporter or anything like that. Why start a fight when we're talking about getting people to heaven? We don't need to fight about those things. And even the way we handle religious disagreements, we got to stop. This is what got me really annoyed on Facebook. I'd post something with the goal of reaching a non-Christian friend of mine. Because I have a lot of them, just because of the jiu-jitsu world and all that, you get to know people. So you think about all the Christian friends you get, jiu-jitsu is like that too, and you have this whole other bubble of people, okay? And so I post stuff with the goal of impacting my non-Christian connections on social media, and then someone's crazy Christian aunt wants to argue with me on there. And it makes us all look bad. And I'm like, come on! Or maybe one of my non-Christian friends makes a positive comment on a post, but maybe they didn't use the proper terminology. They call me pastor and not preacher, and lo and behold, sister so-and-so needs to correct them. It doesn't help the cause. Sometimes we can keep our mouths shut or stop typing, and it makes things. Maybe the way we handle other churches too. I mean, I've seen so many Christians, well-meaning Christians. I'm evangelizing because I shared a chart showing why all denominations are an abomination, which that's a song, by the way, okay? I'll talk about that another time in private. But that kind of stuff. Hey, would you like to come to our wonderful gospel meeting on compassion and love? By the way, your church is going to hell. I mean, that doesn't jive well. How are you going to save souls with that kind of attitude? Or if the only thing they know about your faith is you're the church that doesn't have a piano. If that's the issue you're always talking about, which, by the way, when you start bringing people to Jesus, they don't care about that. They don't. On any given Sunday right now in Visalia, we have a church about 130 people on Sunday. You'll probably have about 20 people or more that have come in recently from connections at the gym, not just from me because we have other people that are there too. And all of them, they're new attendees or then becoming Christians and all that. They might ask why we don't have a band. And I'll mention why we don't. They're okay. People don't care. What they care about is if you love Jesus and if you love them, and all those other things that divide us kind of go away when we're focusing on the right stuff. And then down the line you might talk about those things, but that's not the questions they're asking me. They're asking me questions about how do I deal with my husband who's addicted to pornography? How do I handle my kids that are on dope? How do I handle my coworker that's mean to me? How do I handle my kid that now told me they're non-binary? That kind of stuff is what they're asking. And then we're throwing out this stuff that just puts up a wall right away. Be careful. But that's the truth. I should share it. There's a time and a place for all truth. Let me encourage you, don't start fights when you don't have to. Because if you want to be evangelistic, you can't be always in a fight because all you're doing is arguing, all you're doing is debating, and no souls are won that way. And I used to be like that. I remember some of the things I would argue, and I'd come out of a conversation where I just proved somebody wrong. I mean, I'd knock them over the head with Scripture, and I'm like, I won that exchange. And I called it evangelism. I had a good evangelistic thing today. This guy came to my door knocking and telling me that I couldn't celebrate birthdays, and I showed him why he's wrong, and then, did I win a soul? No. I literally remember, arguing with friends of mine as a young man who we were living like normal 18-year-old teenage boys live, not godly. But I wanted to prove to him while he was wrong that his church had instruments. It's like, we're trying to fuel up all the girls, okay? And then we're talking about why you can't have a piano. I mean, it's totally wrong. But we start all these fights about things that don't matter in the grand scheme of stuff. We'll get to those later. But right now, we need to work on developing relationships with people, modeling Jesus toward them, and that way they have an opportunity to have someone that they can trust to share that gospel message with them. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now because I'm getting all sweaty thinking about it and all that kind of stuff. When these opportunities then arise, when you have somebody that you have a relationship with, they're your friend, okay? Have non-Christian friends. That's my lesson for you today. Have non-Christian friends. And when your non-Christian friend who knows that you're a believer has a need and they talk to you, a door of opportunity opens, they ask you a religious question. They mention, hey, have you seen that TV show, The Chosen? What do you think about it? There's your opportunity, okay? Or, hey, what'd you do this weekend? There's your opportunity. That kind of stuff. When those needs happen, have something to offer. Have a plan. This is where you get intentional with it. Okay, so when somebody starts talking to me about Bible stuff, I am going to invite them to the Bible study on my house every Sunday night. Okay, maybe that's the thing you have planned. I have a Bible study group that either meets at my house or someone else's house every Sunday night. That's my go-to. If you start talking to me about Bible stuff and I get the hint that you're interested, I'll go, hey, come on over. We're going to eat together, we'll have some tacos or something. We usually hang out and we talk some Bible stuff and we'll do that. Bring your kids, they can play on the trampoline. Okay, that's my thing. That's my thing I have ready to offer. If they have questions about the Bible and they want to study more, I keep a stack of Gospel of Mark, which, who was it? Was it Bob that asked, what is your favorite gospel? I raised my hand for Mark. Here's a softball one for you guys. Anybody know why Cliff Sabroe likes the Gospel of Mark? It's short! Okay, come on, there you go. Also, too, it's always in a hurry. One of the key words of the Gospel of Mark is immediately. It's like, do this, do this, do this, do this. Okay, that's why I like it. I keep Gospel of Marks with me. I wrote out my own little introduction to it, explaining how to read a Bible with some keywords to look up, and I give that to them. That's something I have. Maybe you keep tracts, maybe you keep DVDs, maybe you do whatever, maybe you have a website link you send people to. Have plan to do that. If someone mentions something to you, don't say, I will pray for you. Take them aside and pray for them right then, okay? Have those things in your mind, something to offer when the opportunity arises. And then moving on to our final point with that, also involve yourself in opportunities that are potentially evangelistic. If maybe you are someone that's full-time in ministry, maybe you just don't have much of a bubble outside of the church, or the only people that you're around are people who believe the exact same thing as you, involve yourself in potentially evangelistic opportunities. Get out of the church building and do something different. By the way, Google is awesome. I just Googled outreach, and it gave me Meridian Food Bank. Isn't that cool? It's also scary. They knew exactly where I was. But that kind of stuff. But we got to get outside of the church building. The jiu-jitsu thing for me, that's just a thing I do outside of the church building, and the opportunities fell into my lap with them. I don't even have to try. And it's like, here's another opportunity. Somebody wants to learn more. Because we're there, and we're a lot of us. I mean, come on, the Sabroes, there's 8 of us there. So we're kind of dividing and conquer a little bit. So maybe there's just one of you. I understand it's not that easy. But you have built-in opportunities into your life. At work, do you not talk about stuff? Are you not talking about football? Are you not talking about politics probably? Or all the Californians that are moving to Idaho? Or all that kind of stuff. Which I do like Idaho. I'm not going to move here, don't worry. But I feel a camaraderie with you guys in the sense that rural areas, I'm from a rural part of California, but also we're still all given a bad rap from all those church people like in Tennessee and stuff, right, in the Bible Belt. So like, you're out here out west, you guys even have churches out there? Yes, we do. We got some pretty awesome Christians here. They're doing amazing things, so I compliment you on that. So I feel we're still on the same team there. But we have to get outside of the church building. We have to get involved. So if you only hang around Christians, start planning right now something you're going to do away from them. Get to know other people and be good friends with people that aren't believers. But I thought we're only supposed to be around good people because they're influence us, because evil company corrupts good habits and all that. Jesus hung around sinners too, okay? Find time to do that and you will have those evangelistic opportunities. All right, my final thoughts then. this evening. Keep at it. Don't get discouraged. You know, just now am I starting to see the fruits of a 10-year labors of relationships that I've worked in the community of Visalia. I mean, I've been there for a while now, but I'm just now starting to be like, I know that guy. I used to coach his kids. I know that person. And it just kind of, things start falling into place. It takes time to be that go-to evangelistic or that go-to Christian person in your community. But also with that, it's kind of like that snowball effect, to borrow from Dave Ramsey. As you allow new converts, as people get converted to Jesus, allow them to introduce you to someone else. A new family there in Visalia is the Linehan family. Tim is an awesome guy. He's a philosophy instructor, and he's one of our new members there. And he introduced me to another family from the gym that I wasn't even close to. He goes, hey, you know our Bible study on Sunday night? Can I invite them? I think they'd enjoy it. Boom. New convert invites new contact, and they bring people. Allow those people that you've converted to get you into other social circles. Maybe they invite you to their friend group, which again, for me, that's hard because I don't like new friends. And they're like, I remember one time I met these people like, hey, we're having our own Bible study at our house. Would you like to come? Now, most preachers would be like, yeah. I'm like, awkward, but I did it. And since I was the guy that went to Bible school, I ended up taking over it because I like being in charge too. Great opportunity, right? That kind of stuff. Allow those new converts to get you into other social circles. And if you intentionally start making unintentional evangelism your goal, suddenly evangelism is just going to happen. But when you make evangelism into a program and not a lifestyle, well, programs run their course, programs get boring, and you forget about a program. I bet you can list all sorts of programs in this church that you one time had and you don't have anymore. You're like, oh yeah, do we still do that? You know, that kind of thing. But a lifestyle, that's just what you are. Christianity, evangelism, sharing the gospel should just permeate every bit of our existence, and it'll come as natural to you as me inviting you to the jiu-jitsu gym. Okay, it'll just be what you talk about. It's what you do. If you like golf, it's probably really easy for you to talk about golf and get people to start golfing. If you like hunting, if you like hiking, if you like dirt bikes, I'm sure it's really easy to get people involved. I don't know what girls like, but that's that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's easy to get people involved in those sorts of things because that's your life. Make evangelism your lifestyle, and the flame will be spread, and souls will be saved. The church will grow, and we'll make a huge difference in this world that we were put here for a reason. Now, I was told to offer an invitation at the end of this lesson, and I don't know everybody that's here in the audience right now. I know probably for the most part, all of you, or a large portion of you, have already been baptized into Jesus. You're believers in Jesus Christ, and that's why you're here. But on the chance that there's someone here that isn't a Christian, maybe you're here, you were invited here tonight, and you're hearing us talk about evangelism. You're like, that's kind of new to me. That sounds kind of weird. You know, what are you trying to do, proselytitis and all that kind of stuff? We're not that weird. But let me encourage you with this. We are passionate, though. We're passionate about the fact that we believe that God created humanity and He loves us and is crazy about us. But that God also is a just God, a righteous God, and God can't allow, bad things like sin to occur, evil things. I know you know about evil. And because of the evil of mankind, there's a punishment that's due because of sin, and that punishment is eternity away from God. But God still is so crazy about us that He sent His only Son, Jesus. In fact, Jesus as God in the flesh came to this earth and took on the punishment that I deserved, that you deserved, that we all deserved. And that Jesus, we're crazy about Him, we're passionate about Him. And He died on that cross for us, but not only that, He didn't just die. 3 days later, He rose from the dead. And if someone can beat death, I want to get to know that guy. And if you're here tonight and you want to get to know that guy, Jesus, more, maybe you've heard about us talking about like, wow, these guys are on fire for this Jesus person. You can be on fire for him too. And it's easy. Come believing that He's Lord. Confess Him as Lord. We'll baptize you in the Jesus Christ. You can have a whole new beginning. Also, if you're here, and I don't know what your custom is with the invitation and stuff like that, but if you're here and you have been slacking off when it comes to sharing that message of Jesus with others, I'm not going to tell you got to come forward or anything like that, but fix it. Stop it. Let's be evangelistic. Let's spread that flame. If there's a way that maybe the leaders of this church can serve you, I'm sure if you come forward now, they can help you as we stand together and as we sing.